what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Footcandle Films. Film news and reviews from two guys who really like movies.
This episode is brought to you by the Footcandle Film Society. For a schedule of upcoming screenings and membership information, visit the Society's website at www.footcandle.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Footcandle Films. This is our first episode of 2014.
Yay!
Chris, how are you, man?
I'm good. I've got all the confetti out of my hair. You know, I'm
There's
ready.
still a couple pieces up there.
But
yeah.
in general,
I didn't want to tell you.
Start the new
I was going to let you go the whole weekend and not know there's confetti in your hair,
well,
but yeah.
That would have been embarrassing. Okay.
Well, happy 2014 to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you had a good holidays. We haven't recorded an episode since right before Christmas, I believe. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah, so this is the first one of the new year. Very excited to be here on the Mesh.tv with Footcandle Films, our film review and discussion show. Boy, do we have a good show today. I'm very excited about this show for many, many reasons, Chris.
Okay.
All right. First off, we've got 3 reviews, 2 films that have gotten a lot of, actually all 3 have gotten a lot of somewhat Oscar buzz and stirred up energy around them. 2 of them kind of big films and one a little smaller. We are going to be reviewing David O. Russell's latest film, American Hustle, Martin Scorsese's film, Wolf of Wall Street, and the latest Robert Redford film, All Is Lost. So 3 kind of powerhouses in their own mind, both directors and actors and everything else. Should be a lot of fun conversations about those. After we do the reviews, we'll come back with a little movie news, a few items that we want to talk about that's happening in the world of filmmaking or directors or projects that we think are interesting. Then we'll wrap up the show with our recommendation of film that we think you ought to be checking out online or digitally that you may have not seen before, may have passed you by. And who knows, Chris, maybe somewhere in there we'll squeeze in a little 60-second Chris Fry quick review of something. You think maybe? Yeah?
I'll begin practicing my speed talk.
Go ahead, speed talking. Yes. That's it. We gave you 120 seconds for the last batch of quick reviews. Okay. And I realized that wasn't challenging enough. I think you need to cut it down. So we're going to do 60 seconds for a quick review today as well. We'll wait and see which film Mr. Fry will be quick reviewing for us later on the show. Awesome. But with that, Chris, as I said, I was excited about today's show for a multitude of reasons, but the main reason is 2 of my current favorite directors.
Okay.
Right now, if I were to honestly create a list of my favorite directors that are currently making films, I really think the top 2 right now would be Martin Scorsese
and Michael Bay.
You got me. But since Michael Bay doesn't have a film out this week, we're going to go with our next choice, which is David O. Russell.
All right.
So Martin Scorsese, David O. Russell. Those are honestly...
Michael Bay, David O. Russell.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're interchangeable to some degree.
Right.
David O. Russell, Martin Scorsese are honestly my 2 favorite current directors.
Okay.
So the fact that they both have films that came out within weeks of each other, maybe some similarities in story, tone. That's what we're going to discuss a little later on. But let's get into our reviews. We're going to treat them independently first, review them, talk about them, and then maybe we'll see how we want to compare and contrast them. So let's get into our first one, if that's okay with you.
Let's do it.
All right. First one is the latest from director David O. Russell, his film American Hustle.
Did you ever have to find a way to survive? And you knew your choices were bad, but you had to survive.
We were so successful for so long because we kept it just small enough.
If you're that successful, how come you wound up in this room with me right now? Taking orders from me.
When you see that man running through the streets today.
This is Agent Damaso placing $75,000 in this briefcase for Mayor Carmine Polito.
We gotta get over on all these guys. That's what we need to be thinking about right now. We gotta get over on all these guys.
It's gotta be the best we've ever done.
Going into this film, Alan, I have to admit, I was hesitant.
You were hesitant.
I was.
Okay, a little nervous maybe, or just, not, okay.
David O. Russell, for me, he's kind of a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
Like Three Kings, I liked okay. It was one of his first, maybe his first.
Mm-hmm.
I Heart Huckabees, I loved.
Yeah, okay.
I love that
seems
film.
like a Chris Fry type of film.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he may have consulted my brain
Yes.
for a little bit of it. But I really liked that film.
Yes.
The Fighter and Silver Linings Playbook, those two like kind of trotted out like right around Oscar time. Both got buzz, both got nominations, both got winners, I believe. And maybe they were just victims of overhype, okay? Because by the time I saw them, all that stuff had kind of passed.
Oh, see, that's a little bit of a challenge because I saw them both when they were fresh. Like, they hadn't really picked up the big buzz steam yet. So, yeah.
With American Hustle, Russell reteams with stars from the recent films. He has Christian Bale and Amy Adams from The Fighter. He has Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper from Silver Linings Playbook.
Yes.
Okay. And if that wasn't enough star power, Russell also cast Hawkeye in a supporting role as a politician. Okay, Jeremy Renner for the
not the MASH Hawkeye.
Right.
Because that would have been Alan Alda, and that would have been awesome.
It would have been interesting.
No,
but he's used him before in Flirting with Disaster.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my gosh. You just made some little connections there. So very nice.
Scary.
Nicely done.
How does this film about con artists working for the FBI fit into Russell's canon for you, Alan? Because I know, like you kind of mentioned, you're a big fan.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the opposite of you, where I do like Three Kings. I do like I Heart Huckabee. I really liked The Fighter.
Really?
I really liked Silver Linings Playbook.
Yeah.
See,
wow.
So I'm kind of opposite with you on this. Those are two films I just really hold up as some great. To me, those are films where Russell hit his real stride of perfectly mixing mainstream and a very alternative independent style. They did lean a little more in the mainstream.
Okay.
But I do think it was a perfect blend because I Heart Huckabee, Three Kings still had a very avant-garde feel to both of those.
Which is awesome.
I know. You like that. And I did too. I mean, again, I like the films. I like every one of his films I've ever seen.
Sure.
It's just I do really appreciate this phase of his career where he is right now.
Gotcha.
So I was really looking forward to this film.
Okay.
So where does it stack up in his rapport, his whole filmography? Yeah. I don't like it as much as Silver Linings Playbook or The Fighter.
Those would be the top two for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would maybe bat somewhere third or fourth.
Okay.
I mean, I liked it. I did. And there were a lot of moments I enjoyed. There's several moments I would like to really see again.
Okay.
But overall, it didn't wow me as much as his last two films did. So from that regard, I'd say it's a little bit of a letdown, but it's still a good, solid film. So I was overall happy with it. And I know we can go into a lot of the reasons why, but Tell me your perspective. You went in with an opposite. You were more hesitant and more concerned about this. Did this surprise you, or did you come out getting what you expected?
It did surprise me.
Okay.
I, knowing the subject matter, con men and what they're kind of going for,
based on a true story.
Based on a true story.
Yeah.
And what they're, stealing money from people and becoming rich themselves. And then they have to work with the FBI to try to get off the hook. And it just the storyline didn't appeal to me. And in general, I get really trepidatious about based on a true story, all that kind of stuff. Because it bothers me what's true, what's not true, what did they embellish for the movie. And it just bothers me. Mm-hmm. But from the opening shot, which even before the opening shot, the title that's put on screen, where it's like, I think it was something along the lines of some of this actually happened. Mm-hmm. And then that fades away and you go to the opening shot of Christian Bale adjusting a very bad toupee.
For 4 or 5 minutes.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's a nice, long, detailed shot.
I was like, okay. Like, this is not The Fighter. This is not Silver Linings Playbook. This is different. And for me, it was everything I liked about I Heart Huckabees. Because, just Three Kings is also kind of separate. Mm-hmm. It was everything I liked about I Heart Huckabees, the quirk and everything. But it was with his later period style of communicating an actual story that has like The Fighter was based on a true story. And so it was like a perfect melding of the two.
Okay.
And so I was kind of taken aback by that and surprised.
Well, good. Good. The story itself was interesting. I mean, again, so pseudo based on a true story. The idea of con men who get used by the FBI to help nail other con men, and by doing, or actually some corrupt politicians is what they're trying to help nail. The whole abscam endeavor that went on through the government where they're trying to sting operation other more state politicians by bringing in somebody, supposedly an Arab prince that has all this money that's going to invest. And it's one of those storylines where if you really try to think too hard about what's happening in the story, you probably will get a little burnout on it because it's a very complex, a lot of interdealings back and forth. The thing I appreciate about the film, it wasn't really the story as much as I think David O. Russell's got a way with his actors and actresses that he can get exactly what he needs out of them. I do think in general, the people he puts in his film have put on some of their better performances under his direction. You look at Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg's not a great actor. Okay. I thought he was pretty good in The Fighter, though. Okay. And I thought he was good in I Heart Huckabees.
Yeah.
And I think it's some of the better roles he's played.
Yeah.
Amy Adams, I think, is her best in The Fighter and now in American Hustle as well. We'll talk about Jennifer Lawrence a little bit later because I do have some thoughts on that. But Bradley Cooper, I think, is at his best in this film in Silver Linings Playbook.
Best only coming off of whatever that movie was about him taking a drug and getting like...
That was Limitless. Yeah. Well, I mean, there again, I'm not saying he's a great actor. I'm just saying he puts in his best work under Russell's camera.
Okay.
So overall, I just think his way of working with actors and getting them to play the scenes the way they need to be played, the way people want to see them played. I think he's got a real knack for that.
Okay.
So I think anytime you enjoy these last 3 movies he's made, it's because you want to see the interactions with these characters. It's not really the story. It's not anything fancy directing. It's not any of that. It's really how are these characters interacting with each other and having a relationship with one another. That to me is the real key of his success on these films.
Well, and it was like... I would agree, and I say that also to me whenever I see a cast, like the names I rattled off, and even the poster, it features them prominently. That's usually setting something up for failure for me because it's just like all these actors, the director. It's like okay, it's kind of it's kind of a danger sign. So I was impressed that it. I thought the acting was solid from everybody. I thought it was really, really strong, and like you're saying, some of the best stuff from these people, and I guess, like you say, maybe he brings it out of them. Cooper, I maybe thought he's probably the weakest link, I guess, in acting.
Probably of the 4, he was the weakest, but again, I like the fact that, he's a slimy character, and he got to play slimy. He got to play fun a little bit more, which this film in Silver Linings Playbook, Bradley Cooper gets to play interesting, fun characters. And I think he did put in his best work. Again, I'm not saying he's a good actor. I think he is probably the weakest actor of all 4 of the main leads here. Actually 5 if you count Jeremy Renner.
Right.
I think Jeremy Renner was pretty good in his role here too.
Yeah.
The one I want to call out though a little bit is Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh man, I'll defend her to the death.
Well, okay, that's fine. Again, I was a huge fan of her in Silver Linings Playbook.
Okay.
I did recently catch up on The Hunger Games a few months ago, and I did find that to be a really good film that I enjoyed, and she was really good in that.
Have you seen the second one?
I have not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought she was good here, but this is the first time I've seen Jennifer Lawrence act. And I say that like with quotation marks because she's very effortless in all the other films I've seen. This is the first time I've actually seen her where it looked like she's struggling to act a part.
Oh, man.
And that was a little distressing for me. Again, she was good. Okay, I'm not going to say that she didn't put in a good performance. But this is the first time I've seen her consciously trying to put on a part where I really thought in Winter's Bone and everything else that she's in, she's so effortless. She just blends in to the role. This is the first time I saw her working a little harder than maybe I'm used to seeing her work.
When I guess I read her performance a little differently. Mm-hmm. Silver Linings Playbook, I was kind of like, it didn't really affect me. The Hunger Games movies, she's just kind of doing a big action movie, and it's that. Winter's Bone I did really respond to, but in this movie, I guess I read her character, I read the performance as she plays the wife of Christian Bale, okay? And she's very insecure and kind of neurotic, and her, I guess, being maybe a little insecure in doing the role or a little unsure, her quote, acting, that just really brought to life what kind of person that woman was.
Okay.
Like she didn't know who she wanted to be. She was kind of insecure. She had to play the role of the wife, but then yet she kind of then tried to be a little bit of a mafia. She didn't know what she was doing. She always wanted to be something big, but was kind of neurotic. And I don't know.
It was a great character. Now, that's the thing, is that the way the character was written is awesome. It was a fascinating character. When she was on the screen, I was really curious about what the next actions or words were going to be for this character. It's just there again. I saw Lawrence acting more in this one, overtly acting, than I'm used to seeing. And I hope it's not the start of something where she's getting these bigger, showier parts and she's really working it as hard as she can to overact in some situations. I'm a little nervous about that. And I just got little glimpses of it in this film, but not anything I'm going to say that she isn't a good actress in this film. She's really, really good. So
if I could pat her agent on the back, I think they're like the best agent in the world, because she did Winter's Bone, then she did big budget Hunger Games, then she did Silver Linings Playbook, which granted was David O. Russell film, but still not blockbuster type thing. Then she goes and make the second Hunger Games, then she does American Hustle. She's balancing out blockbuster with, not art house film, but you know what I mean, different types of subject material. I think it bodes well for her career.
No, I think she's definitely on the right trajectory. Now, another actress I thought is on a very good trajectory too, and it's a little more gradual. But Amy Adams,
Right.
I will say, if you think about where she was 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago,
She did Junebug. Was her first.
Junebug, which was great.
Yeah.
And then she did the Disney film Enchanted, which she was really good in.
Yeah, she was.
She's always been good.
Oh, yeah.
But the quality of the projects she assigns herself to were always a little more on the tame side for those first few years. Now she's really flexing her muscles a lot more these last few years. I continue to be ratcheting up my appreciation for her every film I see her in.
Gotcha.
It's not explosive. She hasn't done that one big part that just blown me away. But every film, she seems to be getting a little more confident and a little more daring with what she does. I thought this was a really good role for her. I really liked her in The Master a couple years ago for
Right.
P.T. Anderson. You know, so and I liked her in The Fighter. So she's really picking some good meaty roles. And then she's still balancing it out with the whole Man of Steel thing too, to do the big commercial cash in as well. So
Right.
two actresses I think are both on the right path for being our real, I mean, they're already our superstars, but I think they're going to be the ones defining actresses for this generation for many years to come.
I'm going to put in my pitch for Amy Adams to win Best Supporting Actress. I'm
Okay.
not sure which category she'll be nominated for, but I'm going to go ahead and say Best Supporting. And here's why. I'm going to narrow down the scene that hopefully they'll show and she deserves to win for. She is talking with the FBI agent, Bradley Cooper. And she's kind of admitting some things.
Yeah, I know
and
it
she goes in and out of an accent. And it is so effortlessly done. It's
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching, I was like, oh, wow. And like, you know why the accent comes and goes. And it's so flawlessly done.
Yeah,
It was
it's a
just,
good scene.
it was amazing.
That's a very, as soon as you said a standout scene for her, I knew which
knew
one you
which
were
one,
talking about.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen up, Academy.
Yeah, I'll say a couple of things I did like about the film.
Okay.
For it being a crime, drama type of thing, you could see the previews and think that it was going to get really dark or violent in places, and it never really did. It stayed fairly, with the exception of one or two scenes that got a little more intense, a little more dramatic. I mean, for the most part, it stayed fairly light.
Which I was surprised by.
I was too. I expected to go in and be, first half was going to be more comedic and then it would turn dark and get all serious and somebody was going to get shot and killed or whatever. No, it was actually pretty light, given the subject matter.
Sure.
All the way through. And I did appreciate that. It was nice to see a Hollywood film that didn't feel like it had to go overtly violent, overtly dark with this type of topic film.
And the previews that I had seen, because they've been playing them at the movie theater when I went to go see other movies that we've discussed, it didn't do anything to win me over to this movie. That's what actually made me really nervous about it. I was like, because it just the way they emphasized a lot of style, and it looked like it was going to kind of veer into violence and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't think.
Well,
I
it had a very Boogie Nights vibe
It
to the
did.
trailers, and
Good
I thought,
comparison.
okay,
Good
I
comparison.
liked Boogie Nights. I mean, Boogie Nights is one of my favorite movies, but it needs to stand on its own. I don't need this to be a carbon copy, and it wasn't, which is great. It really had its own style and tone, and I think that worked really well for it. The other thing I was going to say I really liked about it, some of the very small supporting actor parts, Louis C.K. I thought was great in this movie.
I thought he was good. For me, I'm not sure why. Maybe just the way he was introduced into the movie.
Yeah.
It was a little distracting. It was like,
Yeah.
whoa, there's Louis C.K. But I agree. I liked his role and the fact he keeps trying to share
There's an ongoing gag going
a story.
on. Yeah.
But it is a gag, but it's like,
Oh, it's hilarious,
It's actually
though.
pretty clever, and it's
Yes.
something a lot more. And the FBI agent played by Bradley Cooper doesn't really want to listen to it, but he kind of, and that is so well done.
It is.
And I heard recently that Louis C.K. was on, I don't know, some talk show, and he actually ended up finishing.
Oh,
the story.
no, you can't finish the story.
I know.
That's the running gag, is that every time Bradley Cooper's character wants him to finish the story he was telling, and Louis C.K. is like, no, I'm not going to, or it gets ready to get finished. Bradley Cooper tries to guess the ending. It's like, no, that's not the ending. And then it breaks to another scene. It was a fun, ongoing thing that tied their relationship together a little bit more.
And I guess I could put my finger on that as some of the cleverness of Huckabee's coming back into this
Yeah,
movie.
there was a little
That's
bit of
something
that.
that he tried to.
I'll say a couple other. Jeremy Renner, I did consider kind of a smaller supporting role, but he was really good in this. This is the best thing I've seen him do.
Sure.
I've not been the biggest fan of his work, but I think he actually got to flex his acting muscles in this one, and it paid off. He played the mayor, Carmine Polito, really, really well. Michael Pena was the Sheik, which I didn't even realize until I looked it up afterwards. And
I didn't either.
That was kind of a fun little role there for it as well.
Yeah.
And there is one very small cameo. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but
Did you have any idea that was going to
No.
happen? I didn't either.
Russell brought back in somebody from one of his previous recent films for a very fun, showy role. Somebody who got to kind of play with their type from previous films that they've been in. And it was kind of interesting, this character being in this film while Wolf of Wall Street, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, is coming out at the same time. And there's some history there anyway.
Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah,
and actually the use of that cameo and the cameo being able to speak a language blew me away. And I'll just leave it at that. It's really cool.
When again, that particular actor, the one cameo we're talking about, is the one that I also said with a previous film of David O. Russell's, I thought was the best thing he had done in a long time, like at least 10, 15 years.
Interesting.
I still stand by that. I think David O. Russell knows how to get this guy to act again. And many, many other directors working lately have not been able to do that. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So American Hustle. Here's the interesting thing, Chris. We both like it, but we're liking it from different directions. I had it as a really, really high expectation. It was a little bit of a letdown for me, but I still really liked it, really appreciated it. You went in with low expectations. It exceeded your expectations.
Right.
I went in wanting Silver Linings Playbook and The Fighter. You went in wanting I Heart Huckabees and Three Kings and others like that. So we kind of met in the middle.
Yeah.
Liking this film.
And I think I may like it a little more than you.
Maybe
actually.
so.
But
Maybe
it could
so.
be the whole expectation thing.
I think it was. It's one of those I really want to go back and see again because there are some scenes that I really responded to.
Sure.
Another scene I'll just call out for anybody who's seen the film or for you as well, Chris. The scene where Christian Bale's character, Irving Rosenfeld, which we didn't even talk about Christian Bale. Right. I thought he was good in this film.
I thought he was good too.
When Irving meets Sydney, which is Amy Adams, at a party. And they're having a discussion about jazz music, and they're playing the music, and it's just his body language and his putting on this very, just trying to be somewhat seductive and somewhat enticing to her.
And considering what he looks like in his figure.
It was just a really well done scene. And
I agree.
I really liked that interaction between the two of them as well. So, okay. So that's American Hustle. Let's move on to our second film, which, could be something we might see some similarities or maybe not. Who knows? It is the latest film from superstar director Martin Scorsese and superstar actor, what is his name?
Leo DiCaprio.
Is that his name?
It is.
Because, he's not in enough films anymore.
This is true.
I didn't know he works with Scorsese at all other than the last 6 films they've done together. So Leonardo DiCaprio, the latest film, The Wolf of Wall Street.
My name is Jordan Belfort. The year I turned 26, I made $49 million, which really pissed me off because it was 3 shy of $1 million a week. We're making a name for ourselves.
Nobody knows if the stock is going to go up, down, sideways, or in circles. You know what a fugazi is?
Oh, Fugazi. It's fake.
Yeah, fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust.
Was all this legal? Absolutely not. We were making more money than we knew what to do with.
Jordan Belfort was a prominent stockbroker apparently in the 1990s. He ended up serving time in prison, and he also wrote a book. Well, one of Alan's favorite directors, Martin Scorsese, has now made a movie based on this book, and he chose his collaborator, DiCaprio, to be Belfort. It's rumored that Mr. Scorsese had a cut of the film that he was trying to get it released into theaters, and the studio was kind of balking, saying like, "Oh no, too long, Mr. Scorsese. You need to cut it back." But miraculously, obviously, for reviewing it, it did get to theaters. It's like almost a 3-hour movie. It squeaked in right before the new year.
It was exactly 3 hours. Yeah,
there you go.
3 hours.
Alan, you were anticipating this film, I think, largely attributable to the trailer, which
yes.
you discussed. Do you side with the studio execs or Scorsese on this one?
About the length?
Yeah. Just as a jumping off point.
Sure. I will say I think the film was a bit too long.
Okay.
Not to say that I couldn't see this as some sort of a mini-series if it wanted to go longer. I would have appreciated it in that kind of format.
Okay.
Like an HBO 2-3 part miniseries thing would have been interesting.
Okay.
Because I could have spent more time with these characters. Sitting in a movie theater chair at one setting, 3 hours was about the max I could have tolerated the film. And I still think it probably could have trimmed 15, 20 minutes off of it at least and not really lost anything in the film itself. Does that answer your question clearly enough there? So without tipping my hat on how I felt on the film yet?
Right.
Or,
well, and so, okay, now overall impressions of the film. How did you come out of how do you feel about it?
I am so torn on this film, Chris.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. I liked it.
Okay.
I laughed a lot. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was extremely well acted. But I came out of this film feeling so dirty and so just dark that I almost felt like, should I really have been enjoying this? It's a very vile movie. I'll say that. I think the characters' actions, their motivations, even Scorsese's depiction of sex, drugs, and everything is probably the most I've seen of that in any of his films in a really, I mean, I can't remember the most depictions of obscure sexual acts and drug use and all. I mean, he's always had it in many of his films. This was probably over the top.
He's done gritty before.
He's done gritty, but
stranger.
this was extravagant, you know? So I came out of it with more of a moral quandary. It's like, okay, I laughed. I enjoyed this film. I really liked watching the characters, but should I have? Because ultimately these people are mostly despicable people, mostly doing despicable things. And the shame of it is, we'll have to talk about the ending without getting, I mean, I don't think the ending is a spoiler ending because this is based on a true story. Right. Anybody who knows this guy's alive, he's still doing certain things out in the business community.
He wrote a book.
So yeah, it's not like I'm spoiling anything, but the ending of the film probably was the one part that set me off. And I think up until the 2 hour, 50 minute mark, I'm really loving this film. The last 10 minutes made me walk away saying, I just don't know if I should have liked this film because I felt like in a way it was glorifying this guy and making him out to be some sort of hero that he wasn't.
That's fair.
I don't want to get too moralistic on this. I know we want to talk about the film and it's a film review show, but it did have me a little bit in a quandary in how to feel about this film. How about you? Let me toss it over to you.
That's very interesting. I think it's a discussion we could have at another time that we probably should. It'd be interesting, kind of like movie trailers, movies that we like but we don't think we should.
Yeah, right.
But that make us feel bad because that's an interesting that's an interesting discussion. But we can have some other time. How did I feel about the film? I hated it.
You hated this film?
I hated it.
I kind of knew you would. No, really. About halfway through the film, I'm thinking Chris and I are going to review this, and he's going to hate this film, and I'll probably be able to pick out the exact reasons why.
Okay, I bet you probably can.
Yeah.
This is like our 50th show or something, and you've known me for a long time.
I know you very well. Yeah.
Well,
first off, it was too long.
It was alluded to in my
for Chris Fry. Anything over 89 minutes is too long.
Let's be clear. If I notice a film's too long, that means it's not working for me. I'm not sure. And it had been in the press, the scary thing about the 3 hours. Mm-hmm. American Hustle was also over 2 hours, but I never noticed it.
True.
Oops, I mentioned it. I swear I wasn't going to do that when you and I were talking before the show.
It's only because we just talked about it.
That's
it's fresh on your brain.
On the brain.
Yeah.
But I did not find anyone in the movie that I cared about.
Yeah.
And that was
the reason I thought you were going to hate it.
That was problematic because I didn't care what happened to them.
True.
And I was just like, I don't like any of these people. They continue making bad choices, and I
you're
really
kind of wrestling.
had a problem.
You're wrestling. You and I have the same moral issue with the film, where I'm not worried about how I care about the characters. I'm thinking more of, should I be reveling in their hijinks? You are taking it from a similar angle, which I knew you would. As soon as I'm watching this movie, I'm like, okay, Chris is not going to like this because
I knew it.
None of the characters were people you cared about. You wanted to see them do anything good,
or I was interested in spending time with.
And I kind of had that same issue because I knew these were people I don't like. I don't like them at all.
Well,
and I don't want to see them be successful in any way or do anything good in life. So I'm basically watching train wrecks for 3 hours, where I know things are going to eventually bite him in the butt. But, in the end, I guess I was disappointed that they didn't get bit in the butt more at the end. So that's my problem with the film, too.
And basically, for me, too, it comes back to the guy, like you mentioned, a lot of sex, a lot of drugs. It was an excess of excess and not in an interesting way.
I may argue with you on that.
Train spotting, for example, guys doing drugs, doing all sorts of stuff, but it's imagined in different ways. It's interesting. But this to me seemed to be one party after another, one scene after another, snorting cocaine off a hooker's various parts of her body.
Yeah.
And it just, I was bored.
No,
I was bored.
I wasn't bored.
I wasn't learning anything. And I was. And there again, it was because I didn't like the people. And if the excess to me could have been shown in more interesting ways, I guess.
True. I'm with you on that.
I don't know.
Well, the thing is, I liked the film. I laughed at it. I appreciated what the actors and actresses were doing, and I do have some good things to say about some of the performances. In the end, though, I didn't care. I was like you, and I actually felt a bit bad about liking the film in the end or enjoying any parts of it. It was an odd film.
And it actually bothered me. I don't think I laughed once.
Really?
And
see, I found it hilarious.
And maybe once, but it actually bothered me that some people sitting around me were laughing as much as they were.
Oh,
it was like a comedy.
Well, see, but that's letting the morals get
the satire that's going on here, and you're not.
I did think it was hilarious, but that's the problem is that I found myself laughing a whole lot, and then at the end of the film, I'm like, why was I laughing? It's like on the surface, the scene, the dialogue is extremely funny. But when you try to think about it in terms of the whole, what's happening in the movie and where things are going, it's not funny in hindsight.
Well, and I had to question too, why did Scorsese make this picture? What was his point? Because if he was trying to do satire, it didn't, to me, obviously, it didn't work because it didn't do anything but glorify the individual.
Well, there's one shot in the whole film where I think he tapped into the satire, and it's the one that made me the most uneasy. But that's, I think was his point. It's the very last frame of the film. Do you remember what it is? The very last thing you see before the credits roll. It's the crowd of people watching Jordan Belfort
with a pen
give a motivational speech about business or making money,
right?
And they're staring at the camera, so they're watching us. They're us. They're like we're enamored with wanting to watch how this guy supposedly made his money, even though he's a schmuck and he's just a complete jerk of a guy in so many levels. We're still fascinated by wanting to watch him. I think that was the only moment Scorsese tapped into any kind of satire and self-reflection. It's like, hey, by the way, you've sat here for 3 hours reveling in what these guys were doing. You're just as bad as what these guys in this audience now who are trying to figure out how to get rich by watching Mr. Belfort get up there and speak.
Huh.
Now, reason
by you saying that, you've actually made me like the movie a little better.
Okay. I came away with that, but at that point when I saw that scene, I'm like, okay, so this guy is still making millions of dollars. He's still very successful. He served a little time in jail, but it didn't seem like it was really enough. And he robbed all these people of money.
A lot of whom didn't have a lot of money to begin
They were
with.
like middle class, lower middle class people.
Right.
And, but yet here we would just watch for 3 hours, all their hijinks and antics and all. We're laughing, we're joking about it, we're being shocked by some of the excess they go into. And here at the end of the film, they remind us, yeah, you've been sitting here watching a guy for 3 hours that you know is a bad person. And that's how you left the film. So that last 10 minutes, like I said, just made me very uneasy and made me question why I was laughing and enjoying the film up to that point.
Well, and I would say DiCaprio, I like him. I think he's a good actor. And I thought he was really good in this.
He was. He's another actor. I think he gets better each time I see him. I thought Django Unchained was his best performance to date.
Yeah.
I think this may have topped it because I think he had to play this character a lot differently. That was a caricature in Django Unchained.
Sure.
This wasn't a character. This was a real person. And there was enough nuances in his character to make him interesting to watch.
It's a shame they showed it in the trailer. I really enjoyed the small little itty bitty part that Matthew McConaughey.
Oh yeah,
had.
yeah.
I mean, I should have started off the segment doing the little thumping chest thing.
bump. Yeah. No, I'll go ahead and say I thought all the acting top to bottom was outstanding. It's just there again, it makes it that much more uneasy at the end of the film to realize why you enjoyed the film so much. But I will say, I thought DiCaprio was great. I thought Jonah Hill was great. His character is just as big of a sleazeball as DiCaprio's was, but man, he nailed it. I mean, he made us hate him at times.
How did you feel about the voiceover narration?
It was a Scorsese film, so I totally expected it. I mean, I do think Scorsese was trying to capture a little Goodfellas magic, and there were a lot of similarities to Goodfellas. I mean, you've got the whole quick cuts between scenes, the dialogue that would kind of bridge it together, the self-reflection, the addressing the camera, which is something he used in Goodfellas a lot too. I did think he was aping Goodfellas maybe a little more than he should have throughout the film. But I love Goodfellas, so I'm okay with a little aping here and there.
I think that quote should go on the back of the DVD box. Alan, I think maybe he was aping Goodfellas a little bit more than he should have been, Alan Jackson.
Yeah, aping. That's my new word.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was just kind of. I admire Scorsese as a filmmaker, But this film, no.
It seemed to be a little bit of a greatest hits. It's like, let's pull out all the tricks that people love about my films from 20 years ago, and I'm going to kind of mix them into something more contemporary.
And I think he's a talented filmmaker, and I think the film was well made. It just wasn't interesting.
A couple other, Matthew McConaughey, I agree, great supporting role. Kyle Chandler as Agent Patrick Denham, I thought was good.
Yeah, I really thought he was good. And in one scene, which I thought for a while was just kind of dead and really laid there, and they needed to kind of edit it out and could have shortened the running time, was the scene with Belfort DiCaprio on the boat.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite scene.
Well, and at first it was just kind of like lingering. I was like, why are they doing this? But then by the end, I realized, oh, okay. I know why they let it linger as long as they did. And yeah, Kyle Chandler in that scene was awesome. And that actually, the gravitas of that scene made it really stand out from the ridiculousness, just shoddy workmanship from the rest of the film.
Well, because that scene was not focused on the excess and the shock. That scene was based on, there's a dance going on between these characters, and you're trying to pay attention to find out where it's going. True. It was a very interesting scene.
It was.
Unfortunately, there were fewer of those in the movie. I will say the scene with McConaughey and DiCaprio at the beginning was very. I got kind of the same. I really like that scene too, because it set you up for what to expect the next 3 hours, basically.
And I wish we could have. I understand his character McConaughey's wasn't the focus of the film, but I wish at some point they could have had Belfort kind of double back and either have an interaction with him or kind of like, I don't know, see some play.
I will say one actress that I was really impressed with. I don't know if it's Margot Robbie or Robbie. I'm not sure of her last name. I've never seen her in anything before. She played Naomi. She played his second wife, the one that got the more screen time.
Okay.
I've never seen her in anything before, but I thought she was really, really good in this.
I thought she was pretty good too.
Yeah, she had a cheesy accent, but that wasn't, that had to be there.
Sure.
She, not hard on the eyes. That definitely helped as well. But I think she played off the characters extremely well, and I was really impressed with her. So, I liked the film. I enjoyed it. There are parts of it I would like to see again. Okay. I would not mind watching this film again, actually, as a whole. It's just...
You'd have to pay me a lot of money.
Well, yeah. It's just, my thing is, I think it reveled too much in the excess.
Agreed.
Too much in the forced humor, which I did find funny, but I do agree it was more forced than anything. In the end, it just makes you wonder why. Why play up the excess? Why play up the humor when ultimately we're following some really shoddy people?
Your interpretation of that final scene and telling me that makes me like this better than This Is the End.
I just wish they would have done more of. I just wish they would have done more of that self-reflection throughout the film instead of waiting for that last 5-minute piece to do it.
Agreed.
All right, so that's The Wolf of Wall Street, Martin Scorsese's latest. Between that and American Hustle, I think they're both playing still. Maybe by the time you hear this, or at least going to second run before too long. And we are expecting to hear their names come up in some degree come Oscar nomination time here shortly. We'll take a very quick break. We come back, we'll review the film All Is Lost and hear Chris's 60-second quick review. We'll surprise you on what film it's going to be, and then we'll do a couple quick news items and our recommendations. So stay tuned. Coming back to Footcandle Films here in just a moment.
We'll get back to your show in a moment. Just a reminder, you're listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Find out more at themesh.tv and give us feedback on what you like. And now, as promised, back to your show.
All right, and we're back here on Footcandle Films here on themesh.tv network. If you want to go and check out any other shows on the Mesh network or past episodes of Footcandle Films, visit us on the web at themesh.tv. Drop us a line, let us know what you think. Also, if you agree with Chris and hated Wolf of Wall Street, or agreed with me and thought that The Fighter and Silver Linings Playbook was so much better than anything else David O. Russell's done, let us know. We want to hear from you. We'd love to mention you in future shows as well. Chris, before we move on to our third and final review for the night,
yes,
I did want to ask you about comparing the two films that we just reviewed, American Hustle, Wolf of Wall Street. I obviously know which one you like better.
And accidentally mentioned American Hustle, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. We'll let that slide.
Yeah.
But here's what I want to do.
Sure.
Let's pretend that the Oscar nominations are about to be announced.
Okay.
But this year there was only 2 films released. And it was American Hustle and The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
So, who wins the Oscar between these 2 films for Best Screenplay?
Without a doubt, American Hustle.
Okay, I'm with you on that, American Hustle.
Yeah.
Who wins Best Actress? And it can be supporting or lead actress. Best Actress between these 2 films. Again, these are the only 2 films released this year.
Wow, that's kind of tough. So you're saying it could be? We're just saying Best Actress.
Any performance, small or large, in the 2 films with an actress.
I would probably go with Amy Adams.
Amy Adams.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with Margot. I already forgot her name.
Sure.
The
Well,
Wolf
she's
of Wall
a
Street.
newcomer.
Yeah.
She's a
Wolf of Wall Street. I thought she was great.
Gotcha.
Best Actor, small or large performance in these 2 films.
You know, I may actually give it to Leonardo DiCaprio,
I'm doing that as well.
despite the fact. But that just, really didn't like the character, really didn't like the story, really didn't like the movie. But his job in it, and the fact that he is that movie. I mean, it revolves around him. He has to carry it. So I might would give it to him, actually.
Okay. Best Director. I think I know which way you're going to go on this one.
I'll go with Mr. Russell.
And I'm with you, although I'm not as lopsided as you are on this
Gotcha.
one. I think in my mind, they're close on this, but I do think Russell squeaks out the win just because I felt like Scorsese was a little derivative
I would
of
have
his
stuffed
previous
the ballot
films.
box to make sure Russell wins. You would have been like, well, if he wins, he wins.
Yeah, okay. And then Best Picture, I know the answer for you. Obviously, it's American Hustle.
Yes.
I'm going to give the squeak win to American Hustle as well. Again, my opinions are a lot closer together. I generally enjoyed both films. I do think American Hustle was the better made film, and it did more for me than Wolf of Wall Street did. So Wolf of Wall Street was more of a long music video, just all sex, drugs, rock and roll type of thing for 3 hours.
Yeah.
American Hustle actually had some interesting character development and story to it.
Right. And I'll kind of expound upon that just a little bit. I agree that the more interesting character development was I didn't feel like there was any character development in Wolf of Wall Street,
Right.
whereas American Hustle does. And I'll expound upon the whole characters that you like or you want to spend time with. American Hustle, I didn't admire these people. And I started off not liking them because they were stealing money also from people that didn't have a lot of money. And they were lying to their wives and they were doing all sorts of not admirable things. They are criminals. And I didn't like, but somehow through the screenplay, through the acting, through the direction, the story of the film, I actually didn't want bad things to happen.
Yeah.
I wanted them to get caught. And but I was actually worried a couple times that some violence was going to come on them, and that actually upset me. And to be able to do that, I was like, "Wow, I don't really like these people. Why am I worried about them?" But
I'll tell you what it is that at least in American Hustle, yes, these are people that are doing criminal activities for most of the movie. However, there are some glimmers, moments where they actually show care and compassion for one another. Because you think about it, Christian Bale's character.
Yep.
There's actually a really great scene where he and the mayor, Carmen, played by Jeremy Renner, start to develop a real friendship.
Right.
And they have a kind of a karaoke singing bit together. And then at one point, which I still think is hilarious, Jeremy Renner's character gives Christian Bale's character a microwave.
Yes.
And it's just one of those things where even Christian Bale's character, Ivan, or whatever his name is, he's kind of taken aback. He's like, somebody's doing something nice for me. Now, granted, what they may have been doing behind the scenes was a little on the shady side, and there may be some criminal activity involved, but there was a friendship there developing. And in the end, I think that friendship somewhat prevailed more than, it kind of helped propel the things along.
Right.
Wolf of Wall Street was nothing about friendship. It was nothing about people character growing. The same characters that actually Belford got worse as a character, undeveloped over the course of the film. And he and Jonah Hill's character really at the end of the film were no better, worse, nothing learned, nothing gained than they were 1/3 of the way through the movie. That's probably where you're coming from on that. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to our third and final review. Very, very different film all the way around from what we did in the first two.
With money and
no money, no crime, no none of that stuff.
Gotcha.
No swinging 70s or 90s music. This is the film All Is Lost, starring Robert Redford.
This is the Virginia Jean with an SOS call, over. Virginia Jean with an SOS call. Over.
Chris, we just saw this film last night, and actually I've seen it twice now. Well, 1.5 times. I didn't sit through all of it the second time for reasons I'll go into in a little bit.
Okay.
But All Is Lost is a film starring Robert Redford, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's just him. There's nobody else in this film unless you count a hand reaching into the water and a voice on a radio, a broken up voice on a radio receiver. That's it.
Right.
Level of dialogue also very, very sparse. I think we have maybe combined 3 to 4 minutes of dialogue in the whole film, if that.
Right.
But we do have Robert Redford on a boat by himself, undergoing some extreme hardships driven by nature. His boat starts leaking. That's the very first shot we basically get of him. His boat's hit something out in the water, tore a hole in the side. It's now leaking. And we spend the first half of the film with him on the boat, trying to figure out what to do. And then the second half is off the boat, also figuring out what he has to do. This is a movie about watching somebody have to process and think through, what do I do next?
Right.
And it does it without giving us any insight to this person whatsoever. We don't know their background. We don't know their family situation. We don't know why they're out in the middle of the ocean by themselves.
Right.
We don't know anything about them. I love this film based on this description I just gave you, but I didn't like this film.
Wow. Okay.
So tell me why I should have liked this film.
Well, because
I'm assuming you liked it just from the
I did like it from the wow. I did like the film, but I can understand why it's not fun to watch. Okay?
It's extremely grueling.
It's extremely grueling. It's very stressful.
Yeah.
It's depressing.
Yep.
Things keep going wrong for this guy. It's like, and it keeps going wrong. But the reason why I admired it so much was because there was very little dialogue in the film, and because it hinged on just Robert Redford's performance, and it had to be an understated one because you can't, there was no dialogue.
When there's nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide. He can't, play off other actors and, rise up his performance and play on. He can't do that. And I will say, I think for me, this is the best Robert Redford performance I've ever seen. And I really responded to it because if I was going to be going out to sea, I'd want him as my first mate because even though, he convinced me, I forgot it was Robert Redford. I thought it was a guy, a survivalist guy who was doing the best he could to figure out what he was going to do and was always like clicking along and thinking. But that being said, it wasn't enjoyable because it was stressful and because he's out in the middle of the ocean, there's not a lot to look at and it's not very artistic, but it's all about survival. Mm-hmm. And I also really liked, you touched on, nothing about him.
Yeah.
And the fact that they turned it into kind of a, everyman, except for the fact he has a really big boat, or not really big boat, but he has a boat.
Yeah. But that could be his only possession.
Yeah, we don't know. And I admire that they didn't fall into the trappings of trying to make you feel sympathy for him. They didn't try to fall into the trappings of, well, maybe he deserves it. They wouldn't give you any of the typical stuff, flashbacks.
Yeah.
They could have done that.
That would have killed it.
And right, I think it would have killed it. And I just really admired the screenwriter and director, J.C. Chandler, who also did Margin Call. And that was his first film, I believe. Mm-hmm. And this is his second. Hats off to you, buddy, for making such a film like this as only your second film and for saying, we're not going to do dialogue. We're not going to have him cheat and be able to talk to other people. We're just going to isolate it. Mm-hmm. That being said, it's kind of a one-timer for me.
Oh, it was less than a one-timer for me. I mean, I had to see it one time.
Right. But then when you had an opportunity
I had an opportunity to see it again the second night of our screening, and I was kind of excited about this idea that we started doing our screenings on 2 nights because we have such big membership now.
Right.
And I kind of got excited about the idea that, I'll get to see it on a Wednesday night and then I can go back and watch it again with a more critical eye the Thursday night. I'm like, no, I don't want to see this film again. And there are many films I really, really like that are still one-timer films for me.
Sure.
This film, I'll tell you, on the surface, technically, I really admired it for all the reasons you just described. No dialogue, single person acting, no special effects other than a couple keyed scenes I could tell, but otherwise, I mean, it was practical, everything else.
Yeah.
No backstory, no flashbacks, all of that stuff. I love the fact that they pulled this off. I just really did not like the movie. And I'm trying to decide if it's because it was so grueling and so painful to watch, or if it was because I just felt like I was watching a procedural somebody's just going through the motions of what to do to survive. And I found it very tedious at times. I found it it was tough for me because I questioned some of his actions and moves. And I know that's part of the point is I'm not in his head. I don't hear his monologue, which would have killed the film.
Right.
He makes choices to do things and I don't know why he does them. And maybe later they come back and I do understand why he did them. There's still some decisions he made in the film I don't understand.
Right.
But I think between that, the tediousness of some parts of the film and that overall just gruelingness of it, I felt like one of our members, a good friend of the show, Brad, posted on a Facebook post about this film. He's like, if you know the story of Job, you pretty much have seen this movie. I'm like, yeah, that's probably what it is. It's just knock this guy down, knock him down, knock him down, knock him down. And then without spoiling the ending, then there's an ending.
Right.
That kind of film doesn't work for me as well. So I really didn't like the film, but I admired it from a technical and a craftsmanship of what they were able to pull off.
Well, I really liked the film, but it is kind of a one-timer for me for a lot of the things we've discussed. I will say a negative for me, though, was it seemed the sound design was very effective, and I liked the sound design until storms or bad things were happening. And then it seemed kind of repetitive and trying to force the emotion. Specifically, there's a breakdown scene with Robert Redford. He's like holding his head and kind of having a little bit the music at that point was ridiculous. And it wasn't just sound design. I like the sound design. The music at that point was kind of over the top.
You know, it was so quiet, the movie, all the way through. And then there was those 2 or 3 scenes where they ramp up this odd music and trying to get an emotion. And it didn't work for me either.
I didn't feel like it needed it because,
yeah, when you're doing fine without music the whole rest of the movie, and then the music comes in, it's almost jarring when it's there, and it didn't need to be there. I agree with that.
Right.
I admire it. I admire the technicality of it. I admire the craftsmanship of it. I just didn't enjoy it. And it wasn't even just a matter of it was a tough watch. I mean, I just really did not connect with the film. And although I do admire Redford's performance, I thought it was good. Is it best actor? I felt like, guys, it's going to sound so blasphemous. I feel like any other decent actor could have pulled this job off. Okay. With training on here's how you walk on a boat. Here's how you maneuver different things in a boat. The only scenes that Redford's performance really got me were the scenes where they focus on his face right when something goes wrong. And you could tell for about 5-10 seconds watching his face, he's processing, what do I do next?
Right.
He got that look down pat. Well, beyond that, there wasn't really that much for me to hang on to.
Yeah, performance-wise, I think it's a really incredible performance. I think it deserves to be noticed. But it is so subtle in many ways. And you feel like, any other actor could basically not talk and walk through the same things. But I don't know. But I could see that argument that it's not best actor worthy.
Yeah, I did have a problem with all the acclaim that's coming from it. I mean, no, I don't think it's the best thing Robert Redford's ever done. I'll rattle off The Natural, All the President's Men, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. All those are just performances I absolutely love. And I think are so much better than this one. But I do think this is an admirable performance based on his age. Given his age, physicality, the fact that it's a very demanding, strenuous performance.
Yeah.
For that, I do give it a lot of props and kudos. It's not the top 5 of the year for me.
Okay.
And that's not just because it's no dialogue. I mean, there's more to it than that.
Gotcha.
So that's the film All Is Lost. It was a very limited release. I don't think it got a huge, wide release anywhere. So it may be a little tough to find if it's still in the theaters right now. But I'll tell you this, it's worth checking out if you've got a strong stomach for very intense, harrowing situations that are very realistic looking, and you want to see a very interesting, well-crafted film.
Well, and I'll say
it's a good choice.
It is grueling. It's not for everybody, too, because it's not really trying to entertain you, I don't think. It's trying to make you experience what he's experienced and not really interested in entertaining you. So I think for a lot of people, that could be a very difficult watch.
Yeah, it could be. All right, well, let's move on to some movie news. We have a couple of movie news items. Actually, you know what?
What's that?
Let's bring out the 60-second clock.
Awesome.
This sounds like a good time to do it.
Okay.
Chris, are you ready?
Sure.
I'm giving you no prep time at all.
Okay.
But I know you saw a film recently.
I did.
You saw Saving Mr. Banks.
I did.
So, 60 seconds. Tell me, what'd you think?
Okay. Saving Mr. Banks, overall, I liked the film. Tom Hanks' performance, he plays Walt Disney. and Emma Thompson's performance as the writer, P.L. Travers, who wrote Mary Poppins. And the whole gist of the film is that Walt Disney promised his daughters at some point that he would make a Mary Poppins film. Well, the only problem is the lady is really like eccentric, I guess is a nice way to put it. And so it took Walt Disney something like 20 years to finally get to make the movie. And he basically ended up having to call P.L. Travers, Emma Thompson, over to California and go through like a wooing process with her to try to convince her, hey, let me make this movie. I will say a downside of it was an interesting story. It's interesting to hear about. But a downside is that, unfortunately, Disney produced this movie. So there were times, two specifically I'll call out here in a second if I have time, that shined a little bit too bright light on Disney and made Disney seem too good. Whereas sometimes I felt like Travers, although apparently from what I've read on the internet, she was a little prickly lady, they maybe stereotyped her too much and pigeonholed her too much as like a stubborn artist. So that was kind of a down point. But there are other supporting performances in the film that are good.
Yes or no? You liked the film or not?
I liked it. It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. Let me just say quickly. In my bonus.
I don't know. We don't have an extension. But
just good performances by Paul Giamatti, B.J. Novak, and Jason Schwartzman, which I did. All three of those guys didn't know they were in the film. They do really good work.
Okay. Good deal. That was technically like a 70-second review, but we'll let it slide this time. I did spring the shorter time frame on you. The 120 seconds, you got a lot more breathing room. You can go expand a little more. It's just a challenge. You'll be ready next time.
Maybe.
You'll be ready next time. All right. So let's get some movie news. These will be really quick, but just we always like to kind of peruse what's going on in the filmmaking community. And Chris, I hate this because it seems like every time I read any kind of interesting news about interesting projects, there almost always seem to be remakes or retellings, and it's getting really freaking old.
Sure.
But I've got two stories about remakes or reimaginings that we got to explore.
Okay.
Disney seems to be on this roll lately of, okay, we've done all these classic animated films. We've made all these classic fairy tale films.
And people like them.
And now we're rolling out some CGI ones off of some very much lesser known fairy tale stories like Frozen, Tangled, all that. But the other trend they seem to be going towards is let's reinterpret some of our classic animated films as live action, but with a little bit of a different slant to them. I think they kind of started this with that film Enchanted that we mentioned with Amy Adams.
Right.
Kind of an odd take on the fairy tale princess thing.
And at one point, people in there are animated and they come to real life in New York City.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we had a situation, not a Disney film, but related to a Disney film of the Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's this idea of let's take these classic animated tales and let's kind of modernize them or show them in live action and maybe with a different angle to it.
Gotcha.
So Sleeping Beauty, classic Disney film.
Right.
Disney is now making the film Maleficent.
It's a hard name.
Maleficent.
Sure.
I don't know what it is. Maleficent.
I think that's it, actually.
Maleficent. Is that it? Maleficent.
Yes.
Starring Angelina Jolie. I can pronounce her name. As the evil queen, but we get a little bit of the backstory of how she got to be evil and how she played her role in the whole Sleeping Beauty thing. It's a live action film.
Right.
So another film that they're working on, and supposedly there are two adaptations of this film, of this story going on at the same time. One is a Disney adaptation. The other one is Warner Brothers. Is The Jungle Book.
Really?
Which they've done before. Rudyard Kipling's story has been translated to a live action, but now Disney is saying we're going to do a live action Jungle Book. Now here's interesting is that Warner Brothers is developing a project at the same time.
Because it doesn't fall under, I guess, the rights are such that...
Yeah, it's like it's based on the story and not off of Disney owner.
Yeah.
For a while, up until just this week, I believe, Warner Brothers had director of Babel, Alexandro Gonzalez Inarritu, signed on. I don't know, but signed on to direct The Jungle Book for Warner Brothers. That would have been really interesting.
It would have been.
But now he's no longer doing that.
Okay.
Disney has Jon Favreau. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're looking at releasing next year. My question to you, Chris, is, okay, let's assume that this is now the way Disney's going to do things. That we're going to take classic art animated films of ours and we're going to do live action interpretations of them.
Okay.
What would be a classic Disney film you would like to see, if you had to see one, a live action interpretation of?
See, It's hard for me to even come up with one because I could care less. I liked the Jungle Book movie, but I could care less about them doing a live action version. Either version, Disney or Warner Brothers, I think I have no interest. I will say, you kind of sprung this on me, so I'd have to look back at what my favorite movie would be. But still, the idea of Maleficent intrigues me because as a kid growing up, still as an adult, a lot of times the most interesting part to me of Disney movies are the bad guys.
Yeah.
So I like the angle of that. Like I love that TV series Once Upon a Time that's on ABC, owned by Disney, and I like that because they investigate the bad guys, what makes them bad. They make them human, but they're still bad. And they have Captain Hook in that, and they have Maleficent in it too, actually, and the Snow White Queen is in there as well. So I like that angle to it. So I'd be interested in the Maleficent. I don't like Angelina Jolie at all, so that worries me. But focusing on the villain for kind of a different take, it's kind of a reboot as opposed to just redoing the story. That actually does kind of interest me. I guess maybe that would be the one I would pick if we're talking like classic Disney animation.
Okay.
How about you? Do you have one that you would? I mean, I don't want them to do it at all.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I would be, and actually the ones I would pick are more recent classic Disney films. I say classic. I mean, I think anything that, it's been out for a while by Disney Animation that's not their second tier animated films. You know which one I'm talking about. Some of the ones like that they've done in recent years. I kind of see Wreck-It Ralph as like, it's not going to be a classic, film.
I see.
But I do think, I think Beauty and the Beast.
Oh. Well, they kind of did that with the play there, the Broadway.
Well,
play.
true, but I think there could be a movie there. And again, if you take it from a different angle, there's a whole story of the Beast, how he became the Beast that we really only get a little flashback, quick moment of.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting story. I would actually love to see Disney, if you're going to do a live action film, I still think live action, we have not seen Tarzan done the way it could be done in a true live action film. Now, granted, that's still a more recent Disney animated film, but I just think Tarzan is ripe for a good live action version.
Yeah. When I was thinking classics, I was associating with like,
I know you were thinking the 50s,
like the
60s,
old
70s.
stuff.
Yeah.
I would say that, oh man, I just had one that I thought would be really interesting and now I've forgotten it. Aladdin, I think would be really cool.
Yeah, Aladdin could be cool.
If done right, I think it could be. Because, they can do flying carpets and they can do stuff that's really cool.
I guess it's probably any Disney film that has human beings as the main characters. Of course, when you've got the animals as the characters, it's going to be really tough to pull off a live action version.
Toy Story would be dumb.
Yeah, there's no point in that. And Lion King, I don't need to have moving mouse on real animals.
But you're right, Beauty and the Beast could work.
I think Beauty and the Beast could work. I still think Tarzan. I want somebody to put out a really good live action Tarzan adventure film. That's just somebody has to do that.
I could see that.
So, while we're talking remakes and reboots, let me go on to this one. And now, more as a curiosity for you, I want to find out your reaction to this original film that they're remaking.
Okay.
Point Break. There's going to be a remake of Point Break. The Patrick Swayze, Keanu Reeves, probably the film that introduced us to the Keanu Reeves we all know and
some of us may love.
No, I won't even say love. Some tolerate these days. Because before Point Break, I think Keanu Reeves was just Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And that was cool with everybody. Everybody was fine with Keanu Reeves being Bill and Ted in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Right.
When he started to become Mr. Action Hero, that's when I think everybody started to really have much lowered expectations for Mr. Reeves' future film endeavors.
Until Matrix. And then
but even The Matrix, it wasn't Keanu Reeves that made people like The Matrix. Keanu Reeves got really lucky. He got cast in that film. So anyway, we've got a remake of Point Break. Now, here's an interesting thing. Point Break was originally done by Catherine Bigelow.
Right.
Who, went on later on to do Hurt Locker. Very, very accomplished director. Mm-hmm. But Point Break was one of her early films.
Right.
And you had Keanu Reeves and you had Patrick Swayze.
Right.
Keanu Reeves starring as, what was his name?
Bodhi.
Bodhi was the name of Patrick Swayze, correct?
I can't. Admission, I watched this movie for the first time this past summer at the beach. I'd never seen the movie before.
Isn't Keanu Reeves' name like Johnny Utah or something like that?
One of them is Johnny Utah.
I think that's Keanu Reeves.
Johnny Utah.
Yeah,
okay.
I think Bodhi is Patrick Swayze.
See, like I said, I've only seen it one time.
All right, so Gerard Butler is cast to be Bodhi, Patrick Swayze's role. And I don't know if they've got a replacement for Keanu Reeves' character yet. But it
Maybe
looks
Zac
like
Efron?
what's that?
Zac Efron.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it could be. Yeah, Johnny Utah. I am looking it up right now here. Yes, it is. That is the name of Keanu Reeves' character.
A lot of people, I will say, Alan, a lot of people, this is a very beloved film.
Yeah.
And like I say, I just saw it for the first time this past summer. I was with a lot of friends who they really like, and they love it for like the camp factor and everything.
It is
they
the
can
camp,
quote
yeah.
lines from it. Were you ever in love with it?
Not in love with it, but I do remember going to the movie theater and seeing it when I was young and enjoying it at the time.
Okay.
But it's not one I've revisited.
Not
ever
for
since
even
then.
like a camp factor.
No, I
Okay.
enjoyed it on just a good action surface level thing. I think, unfortunately, it's one of those that at the time it was kind of revered as a pretty cool action movie and cool film.
Yeah.
It's one of those that, looking back, Patrick Swayze, bless his soul, good actor, but at the time I think he could have been seen a little bit as a cornball, in his performances.
Yes.
And then you had Keanu Reeves, who everybody knew as Bill and Ted.
Right.
And then his movies just kind of got progressively a little bit worse over time. I think it's in hindsight.
47 Ronin is a masterpiece.
Oh, I heard that was a huge bomb. I mean, I'm actually disappointed that that's the film our local big theater with their big new screen decided to put in there for a week.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I would have much rather have seen American Hustle or something in a much, much bigger screen. So, yeah. Anyway, there wasn't really any point in me bringing up this article other than I just think, again.
That's an example of something that you talk about retreading idea. Like, I don't really see a reason for them to redo Point Break.
Yeah.
Unless there was did they have a director attached or
they do, but it's not anybody with a big name. It's somebody who it's his first job directing. He's normally been a director of photography up until this point.
I mean, if they were attaching, I don't know why established director would do it.
Yeah.
But if somebody like Quentin Tarantino was deciding to do it, then I'd be like, okay, there must be a reason that he's going to remake this film and put his own spin on or do something with it,
Yeah.
So,
well, let me move on to a story I'm actually really kind of more interested in because these other two, honestly, not really. I brought them up. I don't know why I brought them up, but I did. But let me talk about somebody I do want to talk about. That's Kevin Costner.
Okay.
All right. Here's the deal with Kevin Costner and me. I really, really liked Kevin Costner back in the early 90s, early midnight. Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, Dances with Wolves. Man, that was... Kevin Costner could do no wrong in my book.
Then came The Postman.
Which I never saw.
Waterworld.
I intentionally never saw The Postman because I did not want my perception of Kevin Costner to be skewed in any way.
Okay.
And then I saw Waterworld, which I thought was okay. I think it got misaligned a lot in the press.
He wasn't the problem with that movie.
There was a lot of other issues there.
Did you see Bull Durham 2 or Tin Cup?
Oh, yeah. I did see Tin Cup, and I liked Tin Cup.
Okay.
I thought Tin Cup was fun. It's not Bull Durham, but it was close. It was enjoyable.
It's Bull Durham with golf.
Golf, yeah. The guy's making a little bit of a resurgence right now. He's kind of been laying low off the radar. Really, since Tin Cup, he hasn't been in that many films.
He was in Man of Steel.
Well, that was kind of the beginning. That was his first time. That's the first time I'd seen him in a film that wasn't some straight-to-video film in a really long time.
Sure.
Was his part as Jonathan Kent in Man of Steel.
Right.
Before that, he was doing Hatfields and McCoys on TV. That was a miniseries on History Channel or something, like a Western thing.
Huh.
Before that, I'm looking at his filmography, and man, I don't know any of these films. The Company Men, The New Daughter, Swing Vote, Mr. Brooks, The Guardian. I mean, nothing.
Is 3 Days to Kill supposed to be his comeback?
Well, that's what I was going to lead to, is that he's actually got several films together that I think if any one of these connects as a big hit, it could be his major comeback.
Okay.
First off, he did have the part of Jonathan Kent in Man of Steel, which I thought he was pretty good in.
Yeah.
He has a part in the new Jack Ryan movie, Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit, directed by
Kenneth
Branagh, starring Chris Pine.
Right.
But he kind of plays his mentor role, which could be a nice, fun part to kind of dig your teeth into. He kind of probably gets to play the crusty, kind of grumpy mentor guy. But listen to some of these projects he's working on, or is coming out soon. We do have 3 Days to Kill, which I know I got your groan from that. I think even though the trailer makes it look very, very rudimentary, run-of-the-mill action movie, could be good. Luc Besson was a writer who I think is kind of hit or miss with big action movies.
Okay.
And you do have Mick G as the director, which that's probably not a very good sign.
Charlie's Angels 1?
But Haley Steinfeld is in it from True
Plays the
Grit.
daughter.
Yeah, and Ender's Game.
Okay.
And then you've got a movie that this could be the one that puts them back.
Okay.
It's a movie called Draft Day. Okay.
Draft
Day by Ivan Reitman.
Okay.
And
you're talking football or military?
Football.
Okay.
He plays the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, struggling to acquire the number 1 draft pick for his team. You watch the trailer for this movie, which I've watched.
Which he's going back to sports.
He's going back to sports. It's a cross between a comedy and a true sports drama movie.
Is it based on any type of reality?
Yes, it is. And he gets a very showy part. He gets to have fun with this part from what the trailer says. Mm-hmm. It's Ivan Reitman, who, of course, back in the day was the comedy god. And now maybe not so much.
What's the last thing he did?
Oh, boy. I don't remember.
His son's the one doing everything.
Yeah, his son's doing really great work right now. But right. I think as far as Ivan Reitman goes, I think what we've got right now is, man, he's done some really kind of bad films the last little bit. No Strings Attached, Ooh. My Super Ex-Girlfriend. So that doesn't bode too well for it. But, I mean, getting Kevin Costner back in a sports movie with some comedy, with some, a little more intense sports drama to it, that could be a good match. And it's got Jennifer Garner in it as well.
Of all the ones you've mentioned, that is probably the only one I'm the slightest bit interested in seeing.
Frank Langella is in it. Okay. Ellen Burstyn plays his mom. Okay. I mean, it's got a good cast, a good premise. It's a sports movie with Kevin Costner in it. That could be the one. So you with Kevin Costner, you admire any of his work, anything of his that stands out?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I was never really on the bandwagon with Bull Durham.
Really?
I mean, it's okay. I have actually seen it. But, just not that real into it. So, and Dances with Wolves, kind of, there again, I saw it before the Oscars, but there was a lot of hype about a big, long, epic thing. You'd have to tie me to a chair to watch it again. So,
you know how many times I saw that in the movie theater?
How many?
4 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Behind Top Gun, Return of the Jedi, and that probably was the 3rd most frequently visited film I saw in my youth.
Now, how many times did you go see Last of the Mohicans? Because you were actually in that. So
I only saw it one time because in the cut that made it the theatrical cut, you can barely see me.
I got you.
Yeah. Now the director's cut DVD, I've seen many, many times because I'm much more visible in that film, in that cut of the film. I really, Dances with Wolves, for whatever reason, really connected with me. I loved it. I had the movie poster up in my college dorm room.
Wow.
Really liked that movie.
Okay.
And I really was liking Kevin Costner at the time. He and Eddie Murphy are my 2 actors that I really wish they could get back in the spotlight and do some good work. And it's just because they're so talented. They've got such good charisma when they're on their game. And neither of them have put together anything good in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I feel like there's still a lot of talent for Eddie Murphy.
I do too. Yeah. And it's just a shame that right now he either is just picking the wrong projects or he's not picking any projects. He's still doing these kid, family-friendly movies, and it's just not a fit for him anymore. Right. He needs to go do something kind of ballsy, in a way. Right. Kevin Costner needs to get back into the sports genre and the Western genre. That these guys have their milieus they need to get back into.
Kevin Costner doing like a Western, it'd be a hard sell, but that would be interesting.
Well, some of his best work has been Westerns. You think about Desperado, he did Open Range, which I saw part of. It was good. It was just a little slow, but it was good. This Hatfield and McCoy's miniseries was supposedly really good. I never saw it, but on the History Channel, it was a Western.
Okay.
I think he's really good at that, and he's really good at the sports movies. He's got to get back into those. Draft Day could be the one to do that.
Okay.
So that's our news for now. A couple revamp news, but then a little discussion of the filmography of Mr. Kevin Costner. So,
there you go.
Great. Nothing but diversity here on Footcandle Films for our listeners. So let's cap it off. We're running long on the show. We got our last thing we want to do. We do want to talk about our recommendations. These are films that you should be able to find online somewhere, either Netflix, iTunes, Amazon, wherever it may be. And they're either films that we just recently caught back up with or ones we just think you may have missed in your film watching experiences over the years. So Chris, what do you have for us today?
My film's going to be one from 2013 that I'm actually really surprised that you didn't catch up with.
Okay.
And you may have beat because you forgot about it because you actually have a tie to one of the writers and director of the film. It's The Way, Way Back. And it's written by Nathan Faxon and Jim Rash, who I believe went to college with Jim Rash.
I did go and worked on some television production work with Mr. Rash, yes.
So, and he's now in that show Community, which I believe you watch, and I've never caught up with it.
I do. And let me just go on record as saying the latest season of Community just started back. They got their front runner of the show back on after firing him for a year. The show, the first 2 episodes premiered last week. hilarious.
Really?
Absolutely hilarious.
Okay.
Funniest show on TV right now.
So, The Way Back is a comedy comedy drama about a young boy, a 14-year-old boy, who goes with his mom and her new boyfriend to the beach for the summer. And he finds a summer job, and he tries to struggle with who he is, like how does he fit into his mom's new relationship with her boyfriend. And it's just a coming-of-age story, kind of in a year that had a lot of coming-of-age stories.
Yeah.
We had Mud, we had Kings of Summer, we had Spectacular Now. But this one was more relying on the comedic side, and I really enjoyed it. Specifically, I'll say that Sam Rockwell plays a guy who's like the water park manager that he goes to work at, and he steals the show and is amazing. Some of his best work that I think I've seen in a while.
Well, I really like Sam Rockwell.
Okay.
I generally will try to watch just about anything he's in. You remember the film Adventureland a few years ago?
Yes.
Everything I saw in the trailers and the premise kind of kept harking back to that. I mean, was it of that kind of same style?
I mean,
because they're both an amusement park and kind of coming of age. Yeah.
It's like that, except it's better written.
Really?
It's a better film.
Okay.
And the performances in it are much better as well.
Good.
Allison Janney plays a next door neighbor, and she is hilarious as well, but also very real. Like, she's a very real person who's funny, but like the things she does are just felt very authentic. So I highly say Steve Carell plays the boyfriend, and I was pleased to see him. I like Steve Carell, but a lot of times I just feel like he's doing kind of a spinoff of Michael Scott, which, Michael Scott was very good on The Office. But with this, he plays somebody that's not very likable.
Okay.
And the things he does for jokes and stuff aren't Michael Scott related at all. It's just I thought it was a very good performance from him.
I liked him in Little Miss Sunshine. That was like the first role I saw him in where he wasn't trying to be Michael Scott to some degree.
Gotcha.
And I thought that was pretty good, but I have heard good things about his performance in this film you just talked about. So it's on my list. I've got my little list of films I've got to catch up with from the last year, and that's definitely up there. Jim Rash and his writing partner, Matt Faction.
It's Nat Faction, which may be short for Nathan. But yeah.
They actually wrote the screenplay for The Descendants.
Okay.
Which was the
that's
George
right,
Clooney
they
film.
Got the Oscar, and he did the little making fun of Angelina Jolie, which
right.
endeared him to my heart already, because as I've stated, I don't like her. So.
But it was the Alexander Payne film, The Descendants.
Right.
They wrote the screenplay for. Some comedy in it, but it was really mostly a heavy drama.
Yeah.
So this one goes a little more on the funny side, which, Jim was a star of a show we did on the student television station called General College, which for years had been a soap opera, basically a college soap opera.
Gotcha.
When Jim came on board and became kind of the star of the show, he started turning it into more of a Woody Allen-ish, quirky encounters on campus show, which was really odd for a few years, but it was great. And so I got to work on that show a couple times to edit some of that.
Do you have any tapes of that?
I actually, when Jim started getting famous and popular through Community and Reno 911, he had a recurring role in.
Okay.
I tried looking through all my old student television tapes to see if I could find any of him in there, and I can't.
Oh, man.
But I do remember working a couple times with him. I don't think he'd ever remember me, but
sure.
We did cross paths a few times. So
he won't be going to the Oscars this year?
No, probably not. Okay. But he is, I'll say, back in college, he was also a very talented individual. So we're very happy for all of his success so far.
Awesome.
Okay, my film probably cannot get more different than the one you just described.
Okay.
I was inspired to see this film after Spike Lee made a remake of it recently, and that's the film Oldboy.
Okay.
Now, the remake of Oldboy that Spike Lee has done, starring Josh Brolin, didn't do too well. Not only critically, but commercially. I don't think anybody saw it. Critics hated it.
Which is strange because it's a family movie, kind of like the original, right?
Yeah. No, this is definitely. Oh, yes. Get your kids, pop some popcorn, come see the movie about a man who's kidnapped and in prison for 15 years, released, seeks violent revenge on his captor, only to find out the reason his captor kept him imprisoned. Kind of turns the story on its head, and then you find out what he's been doing, and this film was absolutely bug nuts insane, and I loved it.
Caption for the video box.
Bug nuts insane. I love this film. Absolutely loved it. I have not been able to stop talking about it with people I come into contact with, but it is very disturbing very messed up.
Gotcha.
No, we're joking when you say it's family. No,
No,
your kid
it's
should not
Please
be.
don't.
Your kid should not be in the same building where you're watching this movie. Okay, because
Right.
something might sleep out of it.
Right.
It's violent. It's disturbing. And there's some plot twists and things revealed in the last 20 minutes of the film that just make your skin crawl.
Now I have to ask you,
Yeah.
calling back to our review of Wolf of Wall Street, you say you like this film. Do you feel conflicted about liking it?
No, I don't. Because even though this is a very perverted, twisted film, you sympathize with the main character,
Gotcha.
even through the choices he's made in his youth that you learn about,
Okay.
and the actions he's performing in the present that you find out about.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to butcher names. These are tough names. I'm sorry. But Minsik Chua stars as Daesun Oh.
Okay.
And he's really good. He's scary. He's intimidating, but also towards the end, you're sympathetic.
Okay.
It's a story of someone who did some things they should not have done in the past, and it's coming back to haunt them. But it's also a matter of the haunting that this person's going through is way overdone for the action he did.
Gotcha.
So you sympathize. You feel really bad that he's being penalized for this simple mistake he made. But man, it's the anguish he goes through in the last half of this movie is insane.
Gotcha.
Chan Wook Park, I've heard much about his other films. I have not had a chance to see them. I'm definitely more inclined to want to go see them now, just because this film really got to me.
Oldboy. Or not Oldboy, but that's the one you're talking about. Stoker.
Stoker was an American film he made, starring Nicole Kidman and
Maya Wasikowska.
Yes. But before that, he did Lady Vengeance. He did Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, kind of a trilogy of revenge films with Oldboy.
Right.
So I will say, not for the weak of heart, not for those that can be easily shocked and disturbed by things that happen in a film. It's not even as much the visual of what you see. It's the knowing what's going on and why it's happening and what this means for these characters is very gut-wrenching and disturbing. I will say, though, just to go ahead and forewarn you, this would be the only film I've ever seen with a scene of a man eating a live octopus.
Got you.
Whole.
Got you.
Not in pieces, with the octopus still alive. And it was not CGI or fake in any way. I did read up about it. It is a tradition, Japanese tradition of actually eating octopi live. And
Not
boy,
what you'd care to experience. I'm assuming.
well, no, definitely not before you go out for dinner or anything. So,
Right.
But there again, if what I'm describing to you sounds at all interesting and enticing,
Or if you like violence done with a hammer.
then this is a movie to check out. So
Gotcha.
anyway, okay, so that's our recommendations of two very, very different ones: The
Yes.
Way Back and Oldboy. It's available online. I know Oldboy was on Netflix. I could stream it on Netflix.
And Way Back is iTunes.
iTunes Rent.
Yeah.
You know, so a couple bucks so you can rent a good film.
And I believe you can also pick it up at Redbox. So.
Okay, awesome. So that's our film, our show for today. Man, good one. So let's recap. American Hustle, we both liked. You
Yes.
liked it a little more than me.
Yes.
Although we both give it good, positive reviews. Little bit of a letdown for me, but still a good movie. Wolf of Wall Street, I liked. You hated.
Exactly.
I liked it with serious reservations and serious guilt afterwards. You just hated.
I hated.
Yeah, easy enough. And then the film All Is Lost, I did not like, but I'm not going to say I hated.
Right.
I respected technically. I just don't ever want to see it again.
Sure.
And am not really recommending to anybody of my friends to go see it. You liked it.
I liked it.
Yeah. And both of us admired it on the technical merits of what it was trying to do. And then we've got Oldboy and The Way Back as recommendations. So that is it for Footcandle Films for this week. When we get back together, we'll have a couple more films to review, maybe some more news to go into. We are getting close to Oscar nomination time, so whenever those are announced, the very next episode we're together for, we will go through the nominations as well.
Sounds excellent.
And kind of give our picks of who we think should win or probably will win in those categories. That'll be the last mention of 2013 films we'll probably have, but we do have to do the whole
enough.
Oscar deal. You know, it's a requirement. You got to do it. Again, you're listening to Footcandle Films here on themesh.tv. Go check us out on themesh.tv. That's THEMESH.tv to listen to old episodes of the show or to find other shows that you may like. What we would really love, guys, is if you would go subscribe to the show in iTunes and give us a rating. Yeah. Put in a star rating, even write a review if you feel so inclined. Not only is it good to hear feedback from our listeners, but it also helps with visibility of the show so more people can listen and find the show as well. Yeah. So, we're slowly creeping up the ranks, Chris. I mean, I'll just say this on the side. There was a time period in the Mesh Network history that we were probably one of the lowest viewed shows.
Oh, man.
We have slowly been crawling up the chain.
It's a slow burn.
It's a slow burn, but we're up there in the top half of our shows of the Mesh Network. So we're hanging on our own. We do pretty good, but we definitely would appreciate anybody spreading the love a little bit and telling some friends and family about it. Click on the subscribe button, even if you don't listen to the episodes. The subscription button does help us. So. And with that, we'll wrap it up. If you're interested in what we're doing as a film society, Footcandle Film Society, you can go to footcandle.org, where we talk about films that we're screening here in Western North Carolina. Otherwise, we will see you next time we get together. Thanks so much for listening.
See you in the ticket line.
Watch films through the courtesy of Footcandle Film Society.
Special thanks to Carpal Tuller for the show theme music. For more about Carpal Tuller, visit www.carpaltuller.com. You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.